Here's some problems on solving polynomial equations by factoring. And this is already in factored form, and the main idea of this is if you have two factors that multiply to give 0, a times b, if a times b equals 0, then the only way we can have a product of two factors being 0 is if one or the other is 0. So either a equals 0 or b equals 0. And we use that to kind of set these up. So they always have to be equal to 0, not a number. They have to be equal to 0. So in this case, if we look at this, we've got t minus 2 and, t plus 2 and t minus 5. So t plus 2 times t minus 5 is 0. So we know the only way this product can be equal to 0 is if either t plus 2 equals 0 or t minus 5 equals 0. So you have two simple equations, and we know we could subtract 2 from both sides. So t would equal negative 2, or we could add 5 to both sides, and t would equal 5. So we have two solutions, and sometimes we write it in a solution set, and that would be negative 2 and 5. Those would be the values of t that would satisfy that. Here's another one, another example. Z times 2z minus 1 equals 0. And these are off a worksheet. This is off the Unit 2, Worksheet 9. So in this case, we know that we've got two factors. Z is one factor, and 2z minus 1 is another factor. It's a binomial factor, but it's still a factor. So we know either z equals 0 or 2z minus 1 equals 0. And if we solve this, we would add 1 to both sides. So 2z would equal 1, and z would equal 1/2. So your solution set would be the set containing 0 and 1/2. Okay, number 6. And we have y times y plus 1 squared times y minus 2. And that equals 0. So now we have three factors that are equal to 0, and or the product of three factors is 0. So we know that any one of these must be 0, or any one of these could be 0. So y could equal 0, or y plus 1 squared could equal 0, or y minus 2 could equal 0. So any of these possibilities. Well, if something squared is equal to 0, that something would be 0. So this is like saying y plus 1 equals 0. Because what do you square to get 0? Well, you square 0. So y plus 1 would have to equal 0, and y would equal negative 1. Here we could just add 2 to both sides, and we get y equals 2. So those are your three possibilities. If you put 0, negative 1, or 2 into this equation, you'll get 0. The left side will equal the right side. So your solution set would be 0, negative 1, and 2. All right. Number 8. Now they start to get a little more interesting. X squared minus 12 equals 4x. Now remember, it has to be equal to 0, first of all. So we set it equal to 0 by subtracting 4x from both sides. So I could rewrite this as x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. So that's your first step, set it equal to 0. And then we have to factor this, and we have our many factoring methods we talked about when I talked about factoring methods. And we have a common factor in each term and no common factor. The difference of perfect squares, I go down the list. Trinomial square, that's not a perfect square. And then finally I get to simple trinomials. That was the Roman numeral 4 in those methods I gave you earlier. And this looks like this is a simple trinomial. So I know it's going to factor to be something like this. The only way I can get x squared is x times x. Now I analyze my signs. Remember, this tells me these signs will be different. If they're different, this tells me the sign of the larger, and I usually put the larger on the left, just so I'm consistent. And I need two numbers that multiply to give 12, and since the signs are different, remember they differ by 4, and that would be what? Well, 6 times 2. And you can always check that using the FOIL method. X times x is x squared. 2x minus 6x is negative 4x, and negative 6 times 2 is negative 12, so that works. So now we've got it factored, so we know that that's going to be the case if either x minus 6 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. And if I add 6 to both sides, x equals 6 or x equals negative 2. And that's probably one of the main kind of problems you want to know how to do. Okay, number 8. And let's try another one. Here's number 10. And we have s minus s squared, s cubed minus s squared. S cubed minus s squared equals 0. So again, I can factor this, and the first thing we always check is a common factor in each term. And the common factor would be s squared, so I'll take s squared out. And s squared goes into s cubed s times, and s squared goes into s squared 1 time, so s equals 0. So we know that either s squared equals 0 or s minus 1 equals 0. Well, if something squared is 0, that something must be 0, so s equals 0 or s equals 1. So my solution set would be the set containing 0 and 1. Those are the solutions. So I hope those help.